questions we wrestle with as Christians about who God is, how do we live out our faith, what is the Bible, what is the truth of the Bible, what are we supposed to believe, how are we supposed to live. There are really big, deep questions that we ask each other, that we ask God, that we wrestle with ourselves. And that's why the Cultivate podcast exists, to help us go deeper in our understanding of who God is, His Word, and the way that He's called us to live. Hey everyone, welcome to the Cultivate podcast with the Grove Church. I'm Charlie Lofton, the lead pastor there, and we are here with support female coffee producers.
Oh, that's what my hat says. I was like, that is off the wall.
It's not off the wall. It is you encouraging all of us to support female coffee producers.
Yeah. I have a pile of hats in my room, as you could assume.
I thought you were going to say you have a whole bunch of female coffee producer friends, but
I actually don't know a single coffee producer that's a woman.
What about Douyin Coffee?
I think it's possibly if I went to Walmart and I bought a bag of Onyx and I didn't look at the one it was, I could have bought that one. But
so that is a type of
Onyx. I think they're an offshoot of Onyx.
Oh, okay.
But I don't buy Onyx coffee as a Northwest Arkansas person.
And this podcast sponsored by Onyx, but then we just kind of undid
I do
it.
Airship.
You did it.
I love coffee, and some people in the past have called me a coffee snob, but I think it knocks me down from that level when I chose a different coffee brand because there's one I could get on Walmart delivery.
No, there you go. There you go.
I was willing to shift for that. But yeah, my pile of hats, I just look at it and I just grab whatever one. But then if someone references something and they're looking a little above me, it takes me a minute to register what they might be talking about.
There you go. Anyways, this is Abigail Boone, by the way,
whoop, whoop.
Our creative director and podcast producer. It's good to see you.
Good to see you.
Good to see you. All right, we are nearing the end. We've got a few more weeks of the podcast on parables.
Are you willing to back that in? Is it really a few more weeks?
How many is a few?
3?
We have more than a few. We have several weeks left.
Okay.
How many is several?
That could be like 8 to 10.
Yeah, okay. 8.
But, that was close.
But when you have done, I don't know,
1 million,
yes,
that's what it feels like.
Yes. I keep waiting that at some point offline you're going to be like, hey, bro, can we just call it?
That was my thought, actually, when I was editing, not the last episode, but the one before, that I was like, oh, we've been doing this forever.
Okay.
But we're close.
We're close. And then we'll see. You guys can just stay tuned to see if Abigail convinces me.
If I cut the cord early.
To me, it's not like I'm so vested that we have to do all of them, but it's like saying I want to run a marathon and you go 24 miles.
Actually, I don't want to run a marathon.
If one were to run a marathon.
Yeah.
Not 24 miles is close enough. All right, you're going to like this one. It's called The Rich Man and Lazarus, Luke 16, starting with verse 19. There was a rich man who was dressed in purple and fine linen and lived in luxury every day. At his gate was laid a beggar named Lazarus, covered with sores, and longing to eat what fell from the rich man's table. Even the dogs came and licked his sores. The time came when the beggar died, and the angels carried him to Abraham's side. The rich man also died and was buried. In Hades, where he was in torment, he looked up and saw Abraham far away with Lazarus by his side. So he called to him, Father Abraham, have pity on me and send Lazarus to dip the tip of his finger in water and cool my tongue, because I'm in agony in this fire. But Abraham said, Son, remember that in your lifetime you received your good things, while Lazarus received bad things, but now he is comforted here and you are in agony. And besides all this, between us and you, a great chasm has been set in place, so that those who want to go from here to you cannot, nor can anyone cross over from here to us. He answered, Then I beg you, Father, send Lazarus to my family, for I have 5 brothers. Let him warn them, so that they will not also come to this place of torment. Abraham replied, They have Moses and the prophets. Let them listen to them. No, Father Abraham, he said, but if someone from the dead goes to them, they will repent. He said to them, If they do not listen to Moses and the prophets, they will not be convinced, even if someone rises from the dead.
That's a meaty passage. It didn't say who he's talking to.
All right, so if we scroll up, all right, this chapter kind of starts with Your new favorite parable,
The most
the
confusing
parable of the shrewd
Bible.
manager. And then he is
Okay, talking to his disciples.
And then verse 14, the Pharisees who loved money heard all this and were sneering at Jesus.
Oh. Wait, but he was talking to his disciples.
Well, now we're at verse 14.
But the Pharisees happened to be there too?
The verse 14. So now we're switching audience. The Pharisees seemed like they were always just kind of hovering around.
Okay. Well,
but
nuisances that you
but again,
get out of the room.
But sometimes the author will add, okay, but it's pointing. There may be a whole lot of people
but
speaking,
he was directing to them. Okay.
Now we've kind of switched here. The Pharisees who love money heard all this and were sneering at Jesus. So he wasn't talking to them, but they did hear it.
Okay.
And so you are the ones who justify yourselves in the eyes of others, but God knows your heart. What people value highly is detestable in God's sight. And then talks a little bit about where the change in the Old Testament, and then immediately goes into the story about Rich Man and Lazarus. So he has the Pharisees in his crosshairs at this point.
So this feels feisty towards someone who is not a Pharisee, because I feel like the Pharisees would be like, check, we're good.
Well, again, it's one thing for, like, I think there were, in a lot of his teachings, especially his parables, when he would direct them at them, they thought they were good. He would say something, they still thought they were good, but they definitely would have gotten the impression, okay, this guy thinks he's taking a shot at us.
Right.
It's not like they would respond to this and go, you're right, we have lived a life of luxury at the expense of other people, and we need to deeply repent.
But they would have thought that they
would
have
have thought that Jesus was throwing shade at them.
Yeah. But I guess also on top of all of this, they're like, who does he think he is?
Who does he think he is?
Teaching in general.
Right.
So before we dive deep into this, is this the same Lazarus as... So it's not a parable.
You have you have noted something very, very important in this.
Really?
Is that this is the only parable that we have done to this point, and we'll do after that actually has someone's name in it.
Okay.
So
it's the dude.
So not only that, because the Lazarus that we are aware of was brother to Mary and Martha.
And he's the one that he raised from the dead.
Yeah. Okay. And they had a significant amount of resources. Oh, they were relatively wealthy. They were relatively wealthy people.
Unless he fell in super hard times.
Right.
It's not
post his own resurrection, he kind of fell on hard times.
It's pretty rough.
Right.
Okay, so this is he just gave someone a name.
Why? So the first thing that you have to take note of as someone who is now that you are slowly becoming a parable scholar,
first century
Abigail.
Jew.
Right. You're a scholar. You're a scholar. First thing you have to do is you want to take note of the thing that is most unusual.
Yes, and that is it.
And that is it. That makes you stop and go, okay, you would not normally give someone a name.
Yeah. Well, even just in story, even like a kid's book, a name is kind of innocuous if it's not someone that's like someone that you would recognize.
Right.
It's just like a filler.
But there are two characters, I mean, not counting Abraham, right?
Right.
There are two characters in the story.
Oh, wait, no, he just talks about Moses.
Two characters in the story, right?
Okay.
The Lazarus and the rich man. In fact, that was called Parable of the Rich Man and Lazarus.
Yes.
You got two person. One is Lazarus and one does not get a name. What's the significance of that?
Probably knocks him off his pedestal a little bit.
Yeah.
You think you're notable because you have all these things, but actually you're just a man.
Yeah, your attention is drawn to the fact that one of them gets a name when no one else gets a name.
Gives dignity to the lower one.
We shouldn't, the people who are hearing Jesus tell this parable aren't going around going, well, in all the other gospels, there are no other parables where Jesus gives a parable a name. Like, it's really not, we can think that, and we should, but specifically, I think our hearts, minds are to be drawn to the fact you've got this guy, Lazarus, and some generic rich guy.
He's kind of like giving dignity to the lower man.
Giving dignity to the lower.
Woo! Woo! All right, we can finish. So
Thank you for joining.
let me dig into the actual scholar. Would you ever call yourself a scholar?
Depends on what you mean, I guess.
Just
I mean,
like
I do not
not
have
like
scholarly degrees. I have a pastoral degree.
okay, that's
Amateur
what
scholar.
Okay, sure. Is Lazarus like a typical name of that time slash does it like mean anything?
Yeah, like it means like God is a helper.
Interesting.
God helps.
Okay. Was that a typical name? Like would it be similar to us saying John Doe?
Well, no, I mean it's we talk about God is my helper, God helps, right? That kind of thing, and like it is a common enough name,
Okay.
and so again, scholars are drawn to was there some intentionality in that, or would it be like and there was this rich man, and then over there was Bob, and it's just kind of like Bob. I don't think Lazarus is a Bob.
Okay.
Joe kind of name. I don't think it's like that. So I imagine there's some attention
be a Christopher
being drawn to that. I mean, especially like you've got this guy who has nothing, is as impoverished and sick and got all these issues, and his name is essentially God is on my team.
Okay. Because they were a culture that knew what names meant,
and
right?
who of these two guys, whose team is God on?
Yeah.
Rich guy, right? Rich guy.
But
he's got all the money and all the stuff and all the God is blessing him. So you've got this rich guy who's got all this stuff, and you got this poor guy who's got nothing, and his name is God's on my team.
Yeah. He's got
that's again, we're just
he's got the bases loaded on his
and
side.
And it would have absolutely, and you do make a really good point to say names when they hear a name that means something.
Yeah. Well, even in our culture.
Right.
Not identifying someone with a name is like I didn't even give you the time of day to identify you, but
well, and then also the being named something has significance to it.
Yeah.
It's not just that was my aunt's name. That was my grandma's maiden name, and we just kind of like
my
it.
My niece never stops telling people that she's named after me. Right now, I've gone to the pool with her a couple times, and she'll walk up to any random adult, not just kids, adults too, and she goes, "Hi, I'm Abigail Maeve Haynes. That's Abigail." She points across.
Is she confused that you don't share all three names?
Whenever I ask her what my full name is, she says Abigail Maeve Boone.
Oh, okay.
So it's kind of
she understands you have a different last name.
Yes, but she'll learn different middle names at some point.
Okay.
But it did also, she calls me Abba typically, but it took her a while to realize like, oh, Abba is Abigail.
Abigail.
Yes. So she's growing every day. Soon she'll learn my middle name.
What else stands out to you in this?
Honestly, I got pretty hung up when it said carried to Abraham's side. And then I had to go back up and realize that it said the angels carried him. But like, I guess everyone knew who Abraham was.
Right.
Like he was a substantial.
He is the father of the Jewish people.
So they knew he was talking about. They knew who he was talking about, but it kind of caught me off guard that line was in there. And then it took me a minute to catch back up with you because I got really hung up on that. I was like, what do you, like, did they take him to his grave?
Yeah, so essentially this would be the same in our, if I told us, and a lot of jokes start like this, three people die and go to heaven, and they're sitting there at the pearly gates with St. Peter, and St. Peter is the guy who is like the warden or whatever, the gatekeeper of heaven.
So
right?
We just kind of metaphorically imagery would have popped in their mind.
Like, he died and now he's with Abraham. It's the same way that we would also say you're at the gates with St. Peter.
Okay. So yes, that really caught me off guard, and then I caught back up a little bit further on after I finished.
So essentially, in our vernacular, it would be the Lazarus died and went to heaven, and the rich man died and went to hell.
Yeah,
which is referred to here as Hades.
Right. It also seems like just such a human plea of him asking if you sent someone after they had died, then they would like, come on, give them like one more chance. Like that sounds like such a human.
And what does Jesus say at the end?
They should have listened to who was already there.
The very, very last thing.
They will not be convinced.
If they do not
Even
listen
if-
to Moses and the prophets, they will not be convinced, even if someone rises from the dead.
Okay, I kind of thought he was talking about himself there.
Right. So,
But
but
he
in,
was
in the context of the parable, what he's saying
that hadn't
is
happened yet.
what he's in context of the parable. What he's saying is, if we brought Lazarus back from the dead
They still
to
wouldn't
talk
even
to your
believe
brothers,
him.
they wouldn't listen.
Uh-huh.
But but what he says is, in the broader sense, is if you're not hearing God right now,
Yeah.
you're not going to hear it if someone rises from the dead. And again, I think that, it's one of those things that probably, Luke is writing this and he's like, oh yeah, and then just
wait.
whoa, 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 whoa.
Watches it for the third time and is like,
Whoa,
"Whoa."
whoa, whoa, whoa.
Yeah, that Leonardo DiCaprio. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So I think that definitely plays into it. I mean, I think there is an intentional play on words
Okay.
there. He's speaking directly to the prophets. You're not listening to.
Mhm.
You are not listening to what Moses and the prophets had to say.
Yeah.
And you won't be convinced, even if someone were to come back from the dead. And the idea would be is that maybe that would ring in your ears a little bit, and Jesus does come back to life, and maybe those Pharisees that hear that are like, right? Maybe it could trigger something.
And I know
in
there's
them.
a lot of the parables where it's like, at this point, this person's getting called out, and at this point, this person, like, it's different groups could kind of take to heart a different part of it, but that part feels separate from just a sting to the Pharisees. Like, that's such a, like, you watch like a movie that you haven't seen in a while, and it's like, oh, I just wish someone would tell them before they go down that hallway.
Right,
or like,
right,
man, I just if someone could just swoop in right before X, Y, or Z decision, like that's so natural for them to wish that. And so like they're asking a really natural desire of like, can't you just like really give them the warning they need?
Right.
But then basically trump card down is like, well, there's no big enough warning that if you didn't, I've given you the big enough warnings.
Right.
And you're still not.
You have had enough instruction that you ignored.
Yeah. And him saying, referencing Moses and the other prophets, similar to him referencing Abraham, that they would have just like known what he was talking about.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So let's just kind of get to the big picture idea, and then I want to go from there to kind of dive into a little bit of whether or not we believed and to what degree we believe that this gives us an accurate theology of heaven and hell.
Okay.
Because it is a fictitious story.
Yeah.
It's a made up story.
Yeah.
And so that doesn't mean a made up story can't have true elements to it.
Right.
I mean, there's a lot of controversy right now around the Odyssey, right? It is a fake made up story. It's not a real story. And so how important is it that it be historically accurate for the context in which the time and place in which it's happening? There's a lot of controversy around that. And so Jesus is telling a fictitious story about two real places. How much of what he's saying is true and how much of it is just imagery.
Right.
Okay.
Can we sidebar for like 2 seconds?
Like off camera or on camera?
No, on camera. They can hear this.
Okay.
And this might be a really stupid historical question, but is the Odyssey where the Trojan horse comes in?
Yes.
It is. Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Sidebar done.
Okay. Tune in next week for Abigail and Charlie's
review
of the Odyssey. I talked about this on Sunday, the two scales. Was it good and was it fun?
Yeah.
It was really good, but it is so tense nonstop. I wouldn't say it's fun. It's like there's never a like, oh, okay, and everybody's okay for a little bit. I can take a deep breath. Oh, that was a funny part. It's just like for 2 hours and 50 minutes.
Yeah. I feel like there should be more categories than just fun.
And did I enjoy it is really what I mean.
Like, did you have a good time watching it?
Did I enjoy watching it? It was fun. I enjoyed that.
Because there's some that's like, I didn't have fun watching what I've seen so far of Paradise Season 2, but it is like objectively good.
Right.
And I enjoyed that I cried at the right parts and was intellectually stimulated at the right parts.
It sounds like you, being an artist, enjoy things that are good more than I do.
Okay.
It seems like good and enjoy really overlap for you.
Because there are movies where I'm like, I would never watch that again, but like well done, and
Mhm.
everybody should watch that because the artist did what they were supposed to do, and you walked away with the right experience.
Right.
Good.
Right. Yeah. So your categories might be
Yeah.
different, but again, using an example, I love the dumber the Fast and the Furious movies get, the more I'm
Yeah.
enjoying. I'm having a great time. Would highly recommend, but don't for 1 minute think
Yeah.
that I'm telling you to go see a good movie.
You're right. You want to know my one hot take for this episode?
What's that?
There's probably not enough time for us to get into it. La La Land, horrible movie. Absolutely
You gotta-
horrible.
I'm something paradoxical about me. I really love certain musicals, and then also I'm really would not say that I'm a fan in general of musicals.
Of musicals. Yeah.
Like, anyways,
Let's say that movie is like 2.5 hours. It is about 15 minutes good. The rest of it is way too long.
Interesting.
Absolute waste of space.
That is a hot take. Anyways, so the big picture idea here is actually pretty straightforward. We get lost in some of the crazy dynamics of it. Is that whether or not how you behave in this life will affect your next life.
Eternal.
Right?
Yeah.
And so the implication of this rich guy was not just that he happened to have resources. And despite what some people might say, Jesus does not have a full blanket statement, all rich people are bad always.
Right.
Because some of his friends, we've already mentioned this, Mary, Martha, and Lazarus were doing pretty well. And there were people that had enough resources to be able to financially support what Jesus was doing.
Right.
And so it's not quite as black and white as some people would want it to be, but I think there is a sense in which rich gets associated with bad in the same way that we can talk about it too. It's like rich people are bad. Even your most liberal politicians take donations from billionaires. Billionaires are bad.
Yeah.
They don't mean every single person who has a net worth of $1 billion or more are evil. They don't mean that. They mean that as by and large, as a category, these people have gotten this way through the oppression of other people.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to get into the politics of that right now, but I think that is less true now than it was 2,000 years ago.
Yeah.
That people that were rich, it was very easy to associate a large percentage of rich people as being definitively immoral. And so that basically what he's saying, you chose to be a taker in this world, to do harm, to build yourself up. And as such, you are going to reap the consequences of that. We get no sense of which from Lazarus that directly that he was a, quote, good person, but the way that he is described, let's say,
he was covered in sores.
Yeah, he's
a beggar.
He was definitely poor. But the idea is that people who are takers and herders will be punished, and people who get the worst of what life has to offer
are the only good ones.
Are going to
Yeah.
And so he's saying that to Pharisees. Basically, what he's saying is, you guys are the most well-off people here. I don't believe that you have done this in a moral, ethical way. I think you are a harm to people. And the more you build yourself up in this world, the more problems you're going to have in the next.
So the Pharisees had like no monastic tendencies.
No.
Okay.
No.
Okay.
They were more like overlords.
Okay.
Okay.
So then you would say the inability to heed warning is like a B.
Yeah. And so then to that is, and because of who you are like this.
It like necessitates
you can't hear truth now.
Okay.
And nothing is going to get you to where you can hear truth.
Okay.
Because you are so locked into how good and perfect and awesome you are. Just like all of these rich people who are takers and abusers.
Yeah.
You are the same sort of thing. You are so locked up in yourself that you are building yourself up, and you've got doom waiting for you, and you are so, again, just kind of in your own little world
Mm-hmm.
that you can't even read the scriptures right.
Yeah.
And foreshadowing alert, even if somebody came back from the dead,
You
wouldn't
even
listen.
Yeah. So it's almost like they think they're God.
Right. You think you're awesome now, and you are doing everything you can to make yourself awesome, and you think you're so awesome you can't listen to sense.
Mm-hmm.
You're in trouble.
Yeah.
But someone who has a more humble life and a more humble mentality will be exalted in the next life. Again, I don't think that we are meant to take from here, to use our theological terms from last year's year plus of podcasts.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think we're necessarily to make a soteriology point out of that. What makes you go to being rich makes you go to hell, being poor makes you go to heaven.
Right.
I
It's
think
not black and white like
that
that.
is not what Jesus
Yeah.
is saying. I think you can be rich and have a poor man's attitude, and you can be poor and have a rich person's attitude, as far as it comes
More
to
so for like
entitlement, focusing on self, those sorts
Mm-hmm.
of things. I think he's using these as two categories because by and large, those are
also it provides a little bit of shock value
yeah.
to where it's like memorable.
Well, yeah, in those two categories, it would really turn things on its head if by and large, this group of people over here needed humbling,
Mm-hmm.
and these people over here, by and large, were the people who were seeking hope in God.
Did they have like a middle class?
Now, the middle class is a relatively new phenomenon historically. It's not they would say they didn't have any middle class,
right?
But by and large, it was
It's pretty separate.
That is a relatively new phenomenon.
Wide chasm between the two groups.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. So that's kind of the big idea, but we can't avoid
the symbolism used.
Yeah.
To
What do we learn? If we take everything literally that he is saying about heaven and hell? What are the things that we know? Okay, we would say one, Abraham is the guardian of it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, he is the guardian / spokesman.
Also,
okay,
angels are gonna carry you up there.
Yeah,
I'm gonna go like everything.
Okay, angels.
And you can tell me what's not important to get into.
Yeah, well then we have to decide. Angels take you there.
Mm-hmm.
Abraham's the guardian. People in hell can see people in heaven.
Yes. It's like excruciating physical torment.
You can communicate to Abraham.
Yeah.
From there.
Yeah.
You can communicate to him. You can see him.
Maybe that's what happened when like a mysterious like huge gust of wind.
What?
A huge gust of wind, and it's like, oh, they're talking between heaven and hell. That's what that is.
That's a Percy Jackson book kind of thing right there. It's just like, how do I explain normal phenomena? I guess Harry Potter's got a little bit of that too, but I associate it more with Percy Jackson. How do I explain normal phenomenon in Greek god terms?
Yeah. But the torment is, I guess we didn't really talk about that in
hell is a place where you are objectively
in pain,
in some sort of pain.
Mm-hmm. And well, it seems like they are able to reflect and regret.
Yeah, he is aware. He is aware of
what
has happened to him.
Yeah,
but it's interesting. He doesn't ask for get me out of here.
He just wants a little bit of relief. Also, it says very specifically in this fire, which sounds very cartoonish. Like if there's like a cartoon of hell, there's like Satan with a little pitchfork things.
Right.
And then there's flames everywhere.
Yeah, and so there's definitive amount of fire imagery, which is very common in hell imagery.
Is that what Hades mean, or is that what the word was?
Hades would just best be described as the land of the dead.
Okay. Was that like a physical location at that time? Like they were referring to the hottest place in Egypt or something like that?
There's where do dead people go, right? And so it is referring to, well, again, what that we would now call it hell.
Mm-hmm.
A person's concept of Hades would be as diverse then as I said, what do you think is hell is like? And you talk to 10 to 15 different people, you're going to get a wide range of answers, but essentially it's where bad people go when they die, and they are being punished or tormented internally, externally in some way. So here we get into another one where there's a lot of flame and flame imagery to describe it. The biggest thing that I think that is said here, that is the one of all of this, is like, Charlie, you're going to take anything from this as Jesus is giving definitive teaching about what the afterlife is like. The biggest one is when he says, and besides all this, between us and you, a great chasm has been set in place, so that those who want to go from here to you cannot, nor can anyone cross over from there to us.
Like,
I think that is the most definitive piece of teaching that he is doing. I mean, to me, that just feels very differently than, Lazarus has access to water and can put it on my
right.
I don't.
But he's
Abraham can talk to people in hell. I mean, to me, that has more of a fantastical element to it, kind of an exaggerated feel to it. But the idea of these are two places that once you are there, you cannot move back and forth.
Yeah. But he's touching on that, and that, like, you can't make a decision afterwards. You have this lifetime.
Right.
To make those decisions.
Your regret now cannot get you to here.
Right.
And their compassion for you can't get them to you.
Help. Yeah.
So again, I don't think there's like, what would it be possible for someone to go, like,
was that a type of theology that people thought?
I think there is a very specific, again, that's what I'm saying, we want to take it at its simplest. You don't have choices after death. Hebrews 9:27. As much as it's appointed that everybody's going to die once, and after this comes judgment. Right? Like, your judgment is set based on what happens in this life alone.
I've heard that verse a ton of times and had absolutely no idea what it meant. So thanks.
You die once, and then judgment comes immediately after that. Right? There's not again, all due respect to any Roman Catholics who would accidentally fall upon this, right? I mean, there is no purgatorial element. There's no like, you can't work, you don't work your way out of it.
It's not like
judgment
a waiting room.
comes, and there's two choices, right? There's a binary here. Good, bad. There's no bridge between them, and there is no amount of regret, because there's a lot of people, we'll call them Christian universalists, that would like to believe that God is still pursuing people
even
after death, and that someone like this rich guy would be like,
I wised up now.
I'm so sorry. Can we work something out here?
Which is interesting, because, like, based off of the imagery that Jesus used, I don't know anyone that would be like, yeah, I'll just take this. Like that, of course, if you you tell a kid not to touch a stove over and over and over, they touch it and they're like, sick. That was all. Like, yeah, they're going to be like, whoa, wait, sorry, I wish I wouldn't have done that.
Right. But also at the same time, you don't get the sense that he's repentant.
Yeah, he doesn't want out. He just wants a little relief before he goes back in, I guess.
And it's interesting too. This is just more layers to the story. He knew Lazarus's name.
Yeah.
He was aware
of someone who had
of this guy to the point to where he knew that this was a poor man that had nothing, and knew him well enough to have known his name.
Yeah.
The implication being there, and you
still
did nothing.
Yeah. So did they think there was a guardian over heaven? Like, why did he describe Abraham as the person that he would talk to about the guy that's in heaven and not God?
They probably would have a
An exec board.
Yeah, and there's still a gap between people's ability to kind of have direct access to God.
Okay.
But Abraham's kind of our great grandfather who kind of oversees all of us, and so that would even if they didn't literally believe that,
Okay.
that would have been like, I mean, we're not Roman Catholics to the point that we think that Peter literally holds keys to the gates of heaven.
But more so,
but a Catholic definitely does. But we would still use that same sort of
Wait, really?
imagery and talking.
Interesting. But is he more so just like acknowledging that they think they're not even worthy enough to talk directly to God, so they would be talking to someone else?
I think it's just imagery that they would have connected to. Yeah, if there is an afterlife and a good one, Abraham's probably the king down there. I mean, he would be kind of God's right hand man in that situation more than anyone else. And so it just, again, I don't think it's meant to be literally true, but I think that would have been an image like, oh yeah, okay, Abraham and the boys, right? Abraham and all the other faithful Jewish people, yeah. And the representative that you could talk to would be Abraham. But again, I think that's just imagery.
Do you think it would have caused them more confusion if he said the guy could call directly up to God?
Yeah, I think probably too. You just want to add to it, like they consider themselves to be the faithful followers of Abraham.
Okay.
Even Abraham's not going to take your side.
Okay.
So the things that I would say, there are two places and two places only. Faithful people go one place, unfaithful people go another. And there's no gap in between them. And whatever hell is, you are experiencing pain. I'm on where you can go back. You can find the podcast episode if you want, or we do talk about hell. I mean, there's three images that are very often used for hell: darkness, fire, destruction. And they all three can't coexist literally in the same place. And so I'm not willing to say it is most definitely literal fire.
Yeah.
I don't think that's part of it. I just think, as always, it is the best image to describe of what torment feels like. And so hell is bad, and you're actively feeling bad while you're there, and you go there when you're unfaithful. Faithful people go here, and there's no after death I can change my mind and regret and repent and get there. I think that is one of the big picture ideas of the whole parable. What you do in this life is what is going to determine your next life. Yeah. So all the other stuff, I don't think Abraham's a spokesman. I don't think people from hell can communicate with people over in heaven. I would be really surprised if you could even see it. But again, maybe, maybe, but I don't think that's the point of this. I think as far as like, if we're going to add like, what can we theologically learn about heaven and hell from that? I think it's limited to the things that I just said.
Okay.
And then, because again, just big picture, who you are in this life is what determines who you will be in the next.
So then the lower part where he's talking about like, you wouldn't even responded to someone who raised from the dead, do you think that was he's talking to the Pharisees? Would have that been like it caused them fear of like, or they still would have just been like,
I think that would have just, I think they were all so mad by this point that they wouldn't have really even necessarily heard that. Again, I just think that is just beautiful foreshadowing on Jesus's part to talk about, even once the greatest miracle of all time happens.
Sentence to say two huge things.
Yeah, and like when that moment comes, it's a prophecy about how they're going to respond, and also a foreshadowing to what is about to happen the next year.
You won't even
so.
believe me.
I'm going to come back to life, and you're not going to believe. You don't believe me now. You're not going to believe me then. There's a layer to that I don't think anybody got at the time. But like you said, upon second and third viewing, you're like,
oh my,
the dude's a genius.
Yeah.
Thank you as always,
guys. I got it.
Well, thank you, Abigail. Thank you for your support of female coffee producers.
Always.
And thank you for joining us. And we look forward to talking to you next time. Thank you for listening to the Cultivate podcast. Our hope is that you are taking steps to go deeper in your faith, that you are asking big questions and you're looking for answers. We hope that we can be a resource for you through our podcast and any other way that we can help you. You can find all our episodes anywhere that you can find podcasts, including YouTube. And again, thank you so much for joining us.